Didn't think it's. Oh no, it. What the fuck? So why isn't it? Okay, whatever. All right, so from what I understood, right, the guide that I saw, PlayStationTrophies.org, said something along the lines of how if we really want to, we don't have to do 3 playthroughs. We can only do 2. So right now, I'm gonna read out a whole bunch of souls. Okay. Just let me know if you have these souls. Alright? I don't know if you're attacking anything, so I'm just gonna give you like 10 seconds. 20, 30, whatever. Okay. Well, just in case, I'm gonna give a whole bunch of numbers. 1 soul giant. I mean 2, excuse me, 2. 2 soul of pursuers, you probably have more. 4 dragon rider souls. 1 old dragon slayer. 2 century souls. 1 ruined sentinel soul. I don't know how. 1 gargoyle soul. 2 soul of lost sinner. 1 executioner's chariot soul. 2 skeleton lord. 2 covetous demon soul. 2 Mipha the baneful queen. You're gonna have 2 smelter demon souls. I think 3. 2 old iron king souls. 1 scorpion. 1? No, 2 scorpions. Either you have 2 or you have 1. I have 1. 2 souls of Duke's Deer Freya. 2 souls of Rotten. 2 glass looking knight. 2 demon of song. 1 soul of Belsadat. 2 guardian dragon. 1 giant lord soul. 2 throne defender souls. 2 throne watchers. 2 soul of Nisandra. And that's for base game. 1 soul of slumbering dragon. 1 for fume knight. 1 for Sir Alon. 1 for Ava the king's pet. And soul of Elena Squillad queen. I'm not gonna count the other ones that I don't have. I'm assuming that you have all that. So, 1 second, let me just write this down. More or less, okay. So, right now, I have 8,280,181 souls. The PSNTrophies.org guide said, if, let's say as an example, if we enter New Game Plus 2, and so on, we need to have 2 million more souls in order to get into Dragleia Castle. So, the way that I understand it is, we don't have to kill any boss. Let's say you're at 7 mil, you have to get up to 9 mil. I gotta get up to 10 mil. The only problem is, we have to be mindful of where the both of us will end up. So, right now, since we have a whole bunch of souls, and the boss souls, I am willing to guess and hoping that we could basically get 2 mil right now. If you have any other different soul, right? If you have any other different souls, like the souls that you get from killing enemies, feel free to use them. I'm gonna just start using souls right now. Well, yeah, that's also true. You could also kill more, yeah. gonna start using some of the ball souls. I'll let you know how much the boss, at least the old great souls are worth. Soul of Lost Sinner gives 25,000. That's not really. You would think, like, the higher enemy it is, or whatever, they would give you more souls. Nope. Not at all. Alright, well, fuck it, I guess I'm just gonna spam all my souls. I'm at 850 right now. Jesus Christ, that means I have 1,500,000 left. Yeah, the regular boss souls so far only give 6,000. Oh, 10,000. Never mind, I went back to 6. Fuck yeah, I don't think I could go up, actually. Yeah, I don't think I would be able to. I don't even remember how much souls I left off at last night. Like, before I went to test that shit out. Right now I'm at 8,600,000. Wait, could you use the Soul of Lost? Yeah, the Soul of Giants, right? So far, I've gotten a total of 385,000 souls. That's crazy. Out of 2 mil. That is fucking crazy. Oh, now I'm getting 25,000. Hell the fuck no, I'm not killing Smelter Demon. No. And it dropped down to 18K. That's crazy. How are you gonna give me a good amount and then it drops back down to 25,000? They make it seem like these bosses are fucking straightforward and whatnot. Who the hell is Vessel? Oh, Gold Knight. I'm literally about to finish up all the souls. I'm not joking around with you. 15K for a final end game boss. What the fuck? Wow. Oh. Time to kill Smelter Demon. At least the final boss of the game gives 30,000, but like, still, man, come on. Bro, that's actually crazy. I'm literally down to 4 souls right now. Wow. I don't think we could use the Soul of Giant. I don't know. I wanted to save the DLC souls, but oh well. I'll just tell you how much I'm at. Oh, you can use Soul of Giant for 10,000. I know I'm not halfway, you fucking dick. Okay, well, look, I'm gonna be honest. Even if I'm not halfway, I'm not gonna fucking say that. Hell no, I'm not you. Alright, well, listen. If anything, I mean, hey, all I gotta do is just kill a whole bunch of enemies and join the clan of champions, so I'm not really bothered by it. We basically finished up the game. So, that's an achievement in my book. Yeah, I'm at 9. Shut up, Greg. I'm at 9 mil. Alright, well, I have 900 and... no. Actually, yeah, I have 901,000 souls again. Fuck's sake. Alright, well, I could level up, let me see. Wow, 6 times, wow. Impressive. Woohoo. Well, I'm gonna level up to 232. I don't think it matters anymore because you will be able to finish up, so. You know what? You know what? If I cannot get the door open for now, that is fine. I will be fine with it. Because at least we're done. Okay. I don't know if I should give my review right now. The reason why I'm laughing though is like, it's gonna, everything that I'm gonna say is just gonna make you laugh. I have to. I'll be done, I'm just going to kill them. Shut the fuck up. Alright, look. I'm gonna start off with my review, okay? Like, the thing is, I don't know what to say. Hold on. Alright, look. I'm gonna be brutally honest with everything. Alright? I'm not gonna hold back with what I'm gonna say, so don't think that, you know, I'm not gonna say one thing just for the hell of it, and because I want to be nice and everything. No, I gotta be honest. Coming back to this game, okay, I'm gonna start off with the positives first, which there really isn't many. And yes, unfortunately, it turns out that I need more souls. Alright, anyway. I'm gonna get into the point now. So, in terms of positives, okay? I want to say straight up right now that I liked most of the locations. What I mean by that is like, okay, you know, you and I did this game on PS3 before. We both did it, you know, we both got it over with, and then unfortunately my game fucking never worked anymore, and I didn't want to restart and all that, so, you know, what happened. I can't go back to fix it, I can't show it off to PSN profiles, or unless if I want to get fucking flagged and whatever, I'm not gonna do it. Respectfully. I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, like, in a sense, I do understand where I was going with why I liked this game. At least when you and I did it together. It's not a bad game. I want to make clear. It's not a bad game at all. Aside from that, I do feel like, keyword, like I said, I'm going to be brutally honest, I do think this game had potential to be something good. I'm not saying that this game was one of the worst Souls games in history. I'm not saying that this is one of the worst games I've ever played, because I play shittier games. Like I said, I'm just being honest. And honestly, the only other positive that I have to say is that there was, keyword, there was only a certain amount of bosses that were actually cool. To me personally, I think that the bosses that were the most cool, at least to me, have to be Glass Knight. I'm trying to remember all the bosses right now, so bear with me. Glass Knight, Old Iron King. What was the other one? Fume Knight for sure. Sir Alon for sure. Those two fights were definitely memorable to me, I'm gonna be honest. They were great. I didn't have a problem with them. Honestly, Ava, the King's Pet, like the very first one, that was a cool fight. I'll admit, that was very cool. And to be honest, I'd have to probably say just the Throne Watchers. Now, I'm gonna go into the negatives. I have a whole bunch right now, which is gonna explain everything that I want to be honest about. I did not really enjoy this game. I didn't. And I'm gonna say right now, because I don't want you to think wrong, Dragon. It's not that this game is hard. This game, to be honest, is fucking easy. It's simple, it's straightforward. Nothing about it is hard. Now, why do I say that this game is, I guess, rough or challenging? Well, it's just not fair. I'm gonna put it like that. It's not fair. I understand that, like, the creator left and everything. I completely understand that. Trust me, it's fine. You know, I don't have a problem with it. What happened. It is what it is. My problem with this, though, is that, let's just say as an example, okay? You're fighting a boss. I don't know. Let's say the Pursuer, you know, from Forest of Giants. Let's say the very first Pursuer. Yeah, literally. But I know, again, you're gonna agree because obviously you understand where I'm going with this. I know you will because it's happened to you before. You can't fucking avoid what I'm about to say. But, you know, so let's just say as you and I are fighting a Pursuer, your Pursuer, whatever, my Pursuer, same shit. If we're fighting a Pursuer, let's say we stun lock, but like very momentarily or whatever. Or like he stops doing an attack, he's getting ready or whatever, you know, like they have like a delay before they attack again. Let's say like that. He slams his sword down, he takes a couple seconds to, you know, get back up and like swing it again. The second that his sword is down, for whatever reason, he will just attack instantly. And 9 times out of 10, stun lock you. And unfortunately, it just does not seem fair. I've seen it happen many times to you. I've seen it happen many times to me. You've seen it happen to you. You've seen it happen to me. There's nothing that you can say, unfortunately, to defend this game. It's not that I want to create a problem or anything. It's just, it's the truth. You know, like, let's say as an example, Sir Alon, or Alone, whatever. I'll call him Alon, whatever. Sir Alon. He was a good boss fight. The only reason why he was tough was, to be honest, you know how he did like his dashing attack and how he like jumped in the air and how it could one-tap you and whatever? The problem was, he would do that instantly. The problem was that the second that like you stop attacking him, or like the second that he stops attacking, he will literally do all that shit all at once. It doesn't matter if you get him into like a stun lock. It doesn't matter if, you know, he's regaining stamina or whatever. None of that shit matters because he'll just instantly attack you again. And meanwhile, you have to fucking back off. You have to heal. You have to regain stamina. And to be honest, it just really doesn't seem like they did a good job with that shit. Like I said, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. Does that mean that I didn't like most of the boss fights? No. I enjoyed some of them, but with what I just mentioned, it honestly really ruined almost all the bosses for me. That's my first negative. My second negative, which, you know, like I said, I'm going to be honest with everything. I'm not holding back. My second negative has to be the fact that the first playthrough, I know this is going to sound funny when I say this, but hear me out. The first playthrough did not feel like I was playing Dark Souls. It did not. I don't know if it was just me. I don't know if it's just the game, but it did not feel like we were playing a Dark Souls. It felt like I was just playing an easy version of Dark Souls. It felt like there was no fucking challenge. There wasn't anything. The only difficult part that I noticed was just the fact that they added pursuers, and that, to be honest, was where they fucked up in. I feel like if they would have just added more mini bosses around, trust me, maybe, keyword maybe, it would have been great and almost on the same difficulty as Souls 1. Why did they do that? I don't know. For what reason? I don't know. How do I feel about it? Disappointed. I feel disappointed because, well, with all due respect, I remember Dark Souls 2 on PS3 being very difficult for the both of us. But it was also because we were never used to Dark Souls, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it was harder on PS3 because despite there being like no mini bosses, you know what I mean? Despite there being no mini bosses, the enemies did way more damage. And you could also back me up on this. You know I'm right. They did way more damage, and it actually felt like you were really doing something difficult. This game, it just felt like, yeah, no, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, oh, you know, you're expecting a challenge. Okay, well, you have to get up to playthrough number 2 in order to get a real challenge. Oh, this is still not difficult enough for you? Well, guess what? When you get onto your 3rd playthrough, the enemies are even more fucking easy to kill, and they barely deal any damage, and all this and that. It's like, what is really the challenge here? You know? There really isn't any type of challenge, and I hate to say that, but I feel very disappointed with the fact that after we came out of Dark Souls 1, and you know, the fact that, I'm gonna be real, Dark Souls 1 was difficult. It was difficult, but it was enjoyable. This game wasn't even difficult, but it just feels like they cut the enjoyment in half. Why exactly? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to say that the game was hard or anything. I'm not gonna cry like a baby and say like, oh, you know, the game isn't fair, the game is all this and that, and whatever. I'm not gonna do that shit. But what I will say is that they really fucked up in that aspect. I'm not a game developer, I don't understand that shit, but even I could see straight up that, like, there really is no challenge. Now, the only challenging areas, which is fucked up when I say this, was the DLC. Sir Alon was difficult, but we managed. It was fun. Fume Knight was difficult, but we managed, and it was fun. You see what I'm saying? Those bosses were fun, at least the ones that I did with you, you know, because I chose not to do the DLC, whatever. But, you know, at least we had fun in terms of killing those bosses. And I really just don't see the whole system of, like, you know, again, Dark Souls. The game is difficult, but when you kill a boss, when you kill a hard enemy, it rewards you with, like, satisfaction. You're like, thank God, I killed it, or whatever. This game really did not give that shit. It didn't give it to me. I doubt that it probably gave it to you. And to be honest with you, I don't see how it would give it to any of us when it did horribly. As I said, Dark Souls 1 did better. That's my second negative part. My third one, which, you know, again, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know what the fuck they were smoking when they decided to make this shit. I don't understand. You know, like, let me say this as an example. On PS3, right? Yes, we had a whole bunch of bugs. Yes, you know, the game crashed a whole bunch of times. Whatever. It's normal, you know? It's a fucking PS3. What do you expect? But, like, it just seemed like they really didn't know how to fix shit. You know, like, let's take the, what's the name? Let's take the whole bosses being able to instantly hit you after they stop attacking, or like when they're stunned or whatever, or like the enemies doing the same shit. Let's take that as an example. You have, let's say, what's a good example? You have the spider boss as an example, because I saw this shit happen to you yesterday. You have the spider boss. When you fight the spider boss, like when we fought her or him, whatever, I assume it's a female, but whatever, but when we first fought the spider, were you put into the stun lock? Did you instantly get hit and, like, almost fucking die again because the game registered a double hit on you? I saw that shit happen. I saw that for whatever reason. I'll admit, yes, you got hit in one part, but you did not get hit twice. On my screen, you could pull up the fucking stream if you want to. I don't care. On my screen, showed that you took damage twice. And it was the moment that I said, get back, heal up, I'm gonna keep attacking. I don't know if it was just a glitch. I don't know if it was a bug on my end. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I don't give a fuck. That, to be honest, was ridiculous, stupid, and I also feel like that's part of the reason as to why most of the bosses in this game suck, because of the fact that they could do some dumb shit like this and get away with it. You know, aside from that, okay? Aside from that, let's take, what's his name? Let's take the Gold Knight as an example. Gold Knight, yes, it was a difficult boss, but it was also, to be honest, one of the most fucking stupidest boss fights that I've ever done in my life. I understand that it's meant to be difficult. I understand that it's supposed to be like the king and queen's right-hand man. I understand all this shit, but the way that they did it in this game is worse than the PS3 version. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm the one that's fucking smoking crack or some shit, but I don't know what the fuck to say about it. I'm disappointed. I hate that fucking boss even more right now. I didn't feel any sort of satisfaction with it until yesterday when we fucking killed that motherfucker and somehow the both of you fucking died and I managed to clutch up. That was the only moment, I'm sorry for yelling, but I gotta keep it honest, that was the only fucking moment that I actually felt like that boss was great. I hated the boss on PS3, but I liked the fact that the boss was made to be a challenge. I hated the fact that on the PS4 version, the fucking boss is 20 times worse, and it's like you barely get rewarded for jack shit. Because, let's put it like, oh, no, I'm gonna save that point for later. I'm gonna save that point for after. You see what I mean, though? But, you know, to continue on with glitches and bugs and whatever, okay? To continue on with that, because I'm backtracking. The amount of times that I've seen you or myself get hit through a wall, regardless of what weapon a fucker's using, like, I would understand with the heavy hammers, I guess, but at the same time, it really doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry for yelling. How the fuck can a motherfucker hit you through a goddamn wall? Explain that shit to me. I could literally be hiding behind a fucking brick and I don't even know, these indestructible fucking walls that look like bricks. I could be standing behind one, healing up. And all it takes is just for a fucking bitch to straight up swing a sword, a hammer, two-handed sword, whatever have you, and it instantly one-taps me. It instantly hits me, it cancels out my healing, and then I'm fucking dead. Explain that shit to me. On Dark Souls 1, I do not remember that shit happening. And I'm sorry, you know, if this shit sounds stupid, but if that was the case, if they wanted to actually continue with that bullshit, if they actually wanted it to make sense, why not have the fucking wall break in the first place? Like, you know, let's say as an example, yes, you can get hit through a wall. You could get hit through certain walls, but it has to fucking break the wall. You get what I'm saying? It has to break the wall. Don't make it a fucking scenario where it's like, yeah, this enemy has a regular one-handed sword, and all they did was just hit the wall, and somehow the brick wall is fucking intact, and I'm almost dead from one shot. I don't see why the hell they would do that. Do I like it? Hell no. I don't see why anybody would like it. I don't know if, like, Dark Souls 3 has it. I don't know if Elden Ring has it. I don't know. I don't give a fuck right now because I'm not there, but in terms of it being Dark Souls 2, simply, what the fuck were they on? That's my third negative part. My fourth one, with following up with what I wanted to say momentarily. The Souls. You know, like, when we were playing Dark Souls 3, I mean, Dark Souls 2 on PS3, excuse me. When we were playing Dark Souls 2 on PS3, I don't know if it was just me, but it felt like it took way too long. Way too long to get souls. I'm pretty sure you could also back me up on this. You know, like, it took so long for us both to level up. It took so long for us to, like, you know, get life gems. It took so long for us literally to have, you know, the basic needs in order to actually survive and, like, you know, make it through the boss fights and whatever. You get what I'm saying? I don't see why they would make it worse in this game. You know, like, honestly, again, I don't understand. But, yeah. I mean, let's take the boss souls as an example, okay? You know, like the ones that we used a couple minutes ago or whatever, and, to try to get up to the end and whatever. That's besides the point. You know, like, I remember at the end of playthrough 1 or whatever. No, excuse me. The whole entire time that we were on playthrough 1, I remembered I had to constantly, you could back me up on that. I had to constantly use a boss soul in order to catch up to the point that you were in. It didn't matter if you were like 5,000 souls ahead of me. It didn't matter if you were 3,000. If I had no enemies, I couldn't do shit. You know, I couldn't, like, get up to your point. I couldn't help you out in anything, and I don't know. To me, it just felt like, you know, again, yes, in terms of, like, PS3, I understand, you know, it's old gen. They don't care. They don't fix shit. Especially if this game came out on PS4, you know, at the same time, I understand that, but at the same time, there really isn't an excuse if it comes to PS3. If, you know, if this is apparently like the enhanced version, the more upgraded version, or the fixed version, whatever you will. If this is that version, explain to me why the system is still the same. You know, like, I'm gonna branch off, but it technically follows along with the same thing. Like, let's say as an example, when you and I wanted to fight, I don't know, what's a good I guess, let's say... Okay, yeah, you know what? Gold Knight, again. Gold Knight. You know, let's say as an example, yesterday when we were fighting against Gold Knight, right? For whatever reason, you were at the same amount of souls that I was, but you remember, you had your sign down, I couldn't see it. That happened in many areas. That also happened in, like, areas that, you know, I had the same amount of souls with you in, or, like, whatever in terms of that. I don't understand. I really don't understand that system. I try to, because, like, 1 minute it said, like, you have to be, like, 10,000 in range. Like, either you could be 10,000 below or, like, 10,000 or above, whatever, and you and I can still match up, and, you know, it'll work, and we can do whatever, but when you and I try to do that, it doesn't work, and then, like, you know, half the time it does, then half the time it doesn't, then, you know, no disrespect again to, like, the viewers and anything, but, like, you know, somebody yesterday said, like, oh, you have to be, like, I think 1 million in range. Like, if I'm 9 mil, you have to at least be 8 mil. And then somebody else said, like, you have to be 100K, not 1 mil. And it's like, I'm sorry, you know, again, maybe the people do understand the system more. Maybe it works for them differently. Maybe because, you know, they're on PC or like a different console, whatever. But, like, it really just seems like nobody knows the system. It really seems like nobody understands the system, and that right there ruins everything, not for just you or me, but it ruins it for other people. You know, like, maybe, keyword maybe, that's why a whole bunch of people kept saying, like, Dark Souls 2 is, like, not a fun game if you're playing with friends or whatever, or if you want to complete the game with friends. Maybe that's why they said it many times. Maybe that's why I see trophy hunters say that. I don't know, but at the same time, I could understand completely that, like, yes, it does ruin the multiplayer experience. Because, to be honest, again, to be brutally honest, it does ruin the multiplayer experience. You know, because let's just say as an example, if this was our first Dark Souls game, like the PS4 version instead of PS3, if this was our first Dark Souls game, and we didn't understand jack shit, explain to me how we're gonna figure everything out. You know, like, even when we played this shit, even when we came, you know, even when we, what's the word? Even when we finished up Souls 1, well, the second that we came back onto this, we were just so confused, like, everything, you know what I mean? Yes, we didn't understand most of the areas, but that's normal. But when it comes to playing with friends, when it comes to any of this and that, it really just does not make any sense. I don't really see how it's fair. I don't really see, again, how it makes any sense. I don't see how anybody could say, like, yeah, no, this is like a good system right here or anything. I really don't see it like that. But at the same time, I will admit I do understand in a sense because, you know, let's be honest. That guy that was helping us out with Souls 1, yes, he definitely carried it. You know, if it wasn't for him, hey, you know, maybe we would have been struggling a lot more with Souls 1 and whatever. Maybe not, who knows, because to be honest, the game was very simple. But even then, you know, it really felt like, as I said previously, it really felt like they didn't want you to play with players in this. That includes invasions, that includes just helping out, you know what I mean? It really just felt like they didn't know what they wanted to do. It really just felt like they didn't know how to do it properly. And if they didn't know how to do it properly, they should have just left it as it was. Like I said, that's just how I am. Maybe you may think differently. I understand that it has challenges in a sense. I completely understand that, but at the same time, I also feel like it ruins the gameplay. That's my fourth thing. Or my fifth, whatever. My sixth, let's just continue. My sixth is the fact that this game really just wasn't fun. I don't really know how to say it. You know, there really isn't anything that I can say to follow along with that, but I'm gonna try my best. It really just felt like this game was just work. And I understand that, you know, again, as I said, as many people say, Dark Souls is a series that's meant difficulty and whatever. I completely understand that. And I'm grateful that, you know, this game and all, you know, excuse me. I'm grateful that, you know, Dark Souls 1 and this, and then of course the one on PS3 that we played, I'm grateful that they really didn't hold back with difficulty. I'm glad. You know, I'm really glad. But at the same time, I don't know. Is it just me, or does it feel like this game was boring? Maybe you may think differently. Maybe you may feel differently, but to me, this game felt boring. Like, I mean, you've seen it. Moments I would say, like, yeah, let's play Dark Souls, and then I'm just playing a whole different other game, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll play it tomorrow, or whatever, or like, you know, you doing the same thing. Don't get it, I mean, don't interpret it in a bad way, but I'm just saying, like, this game really just bored me to death. I don't know if maybe that's why I didn't want to play. Maybe I was just burnt out of it. I don't know, but like, yeah. I really just didn't see this game to be fun. Well, it was fun, but only on the second playthrough. I'll explain why shortly. But anyway, you know, it's just like, there really isn't or wasn't anything to like say like, yo, this game is fun, you know what I mean? There really wasn't anything. And I don't know, again, I don't know if it's because the what is it, the difficulty, or like the fact that there was a whole bunch of issues or whatever, I don't know. But at the same time, I kind of also feel like it's for a different reason. I feel like it's for a whole different purpose, whatever, and like I said, it just really ruined the fun for me. It ruined the fun for me. I saw that it ruined the fun for many trophy hunters. You know, people who really like the Souls series. You know, even people that joined up the stream, even people that, like, we've randomly found or whatever, or, you know, any of this and that, people that we've talked to about Dark Souls, they said the same thing. Dark Souls 2 is boring. Dark Souls 2 is not fun. Dark Souls 2 isn't rewarding. All this and that. I could go on for, like, a couple minutes about that, but, yeah, you know, it's just, like, I understand that this game wasn't really liked, but now I could completely understand why it wasn't liked. But at the same time, I feel like it really was not that difficult to just either keep the PS3 version the same, like, you know, let's say bring the PS3 version to 4 and just leave it as that. They could have either done that or, to be honest, just made the PS4 version kind of the same on PS3. I understand what the limitations and everything, but, you know, it's like, it feels like they really just ran out of ideas when it came to doing this version. That's how I felt. It felt like to me that they didn't know what they were doing. It felt like they didn't understand what they wanted, and hey, you know what happened? I won't judge them on that, you know, trust me, I'm not gonna judge them on that. They decide whatever they want, but at the same time, it really just does not give a good taste. It really doesn't. I have 3 more negatives I want to say, and I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna restart the order right now. I'm sorry, I don't remember how much I have. My first main negative had to be the fact that this game, to be honest, was just so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. And I might yell because, you know, it pisses me off still, the fact that I gotta say this, but how the fuck do you go from Dark Souls 1? Fuck, even Demon Souls, like, I haven't even played Demon Souls, but how do you go from Demon Souls in Dark Souls 1? Demon Souls is apparently one of the best stories in terms of, like, you know, Souls-like and whatever, Soulsborne, whatever. I haven't played it, I want to play it. But how do you go from Dark Souls 1 being one of the best goddamn Souls games that I played? How do you go from that shit? How do you go from something so great and just look at it and say, you know what? I feel like pulling a Tom and Jerry right now. I feel like going up to a fucking dot. I feel like fucking I don't know what to say at this point. I feel like fucking a police officer in front of the police station and, like, taking 20 doses of fentanyl and all this goddamn bullshit, and I just want to fucking make the game even worse. That's the only way that I can see it. That's the only way I could see it. That's the only way I could understand it. The only way I could put it. The only way I could interpret it. All this and that. How do you go from Dark Souls 1 and create this fucking bullshit, boring piece of fucking garbage? How do you do that? How do you bring in such good characters in Souls 1? Forget about half of them. You know? You forget about the ones that are actually alive. The ones that actually fucking lived and everything. How do you forget about them and just leave them there? How? You know, like, let's say the Firekeeper from Souls 1. Isn't she supposed to be the main Firekeeper from Souls 2? Isn't she supposed to be, like, the protege or all this and that? Isn't she supposed to be the, quote-unquote, the one that could, like, change the story and everything? At least from the way that I interpreted it from Dark Souls 1. Isn't she supposed to be doing all this and that? So tell me why she's a fucking different Firekeeper from in Souls 2. I don't know, again, I don't know if maybe I'm just thinking about it too much. I don't know if, like, I don't understand it properly. I don't know, and I apologize to people that, like, really know about the Dark Souls lore and everything, but what happened to the other characters? What happened? Like for example, Onion King's daughter, Onion Knight, whatever. Onion Knight's daughter. If you complete the Onion Knight quest, you know, you see her daughter and she says like, oh, I had to kill my father, whatever, whatever, till we meet again. Where the fuck is she? You know? And you know, again, I can't stress it enough. I cannot fucking stress it enough. If they didn't want to bring those characters back, why in the everlasting hell would they bring back the priest? Why didn't they just change him? Yes, I will admit, I was kind of happy to see him, but at the same time, I was also disappointed because of the fact that how do you bring in such good characters in Souls 1? How do you give these characters such great stories, even from the minimal amount of dialogue? How do you bring all this and that? And you just don't even mention, you don't even bring back the ones that actually matter, the ones that are actually alive and all this and that. How could you not do that? You know, and I'm speaking about the ones that are specifically alive, not the ones that went hollow, not the ones that died and all this and that. How do you go from that shit? How do you do that? Why would you do that? My second main critique, and I'm going to try to wrap this up because I have to leave right now. My second main critique is the fact that... I'm getting invaded, aren't I? I'm getting invaded, bruh. I deserve that after talking so much shit. I deserve it, but I don't give a fuck. My second main critique. Yep, and it's the same guy as... You know what? I'm sorry to say this. If you are one of my fucking viewers and you keep invading me and my friend, fuck you. Straight up. You're not gonna fucking kill me. I don't care. Fuck off. Anyway, as I was saying. Hold on. Okay. You know, as I was saying, don't mind the background noise, by the way. I'm just preparing to leave. You know, like, it just really felt like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. It really just felt like they didn't have any ideas coming into this. It really just felt like they were really not putting any passion in. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? But I am definitely 100% upset about the fact that, you know, aside from the old cast of characters or whatever, I am disappointed with the fact that some characters that were introduced into the story, like Lucatile as an example, I am partially upset that she died, yes, but it was justified. I mean, you know, Dragon, you gotta agree with me. She had to have been really the only most important character in Dark Souls. Well, I mean, Dark Souls 2. She had to be. And, you know, I just really felt like, in terms of her character, she was the only one who, you know, yes, she mattered, but I just felt like that was where all the passion was. I didn't really feel like there was any type of passion with all the other characters. I didn't really feel like that there was any type of, like, identity towards all the characters. You know, like, let's take, Pate as an example. Pate? Yeah, let's take Pate as an example. You know, the first NPC that you basically meet, you know, Forest of Giants. I feel like he could have been something if they would have done it. Am I wrong or am I right? You know, like, even with, Jugo as an example. Jugo, why couldn't he be something? Why does it just have to be like, oh, I'm just a random knight, you found me, okay, you helped open up a passageway so I could continue my journeys. Okay, yeah, I'll just see you next time. Why does it have to be like that? Again, I completely understand, the lack of dialogue. They want you to figure the shit out by yourself. I completely get that, but at the same time, is it really justified? Is it really okay with the fact that like only one character is meant to be memorable out of like God knows how many characters? Is this supposed to be like that? Cuz I don't know. To me, keyword to me, maybe other people may disagree with me on this. It's fine. I'm not going to hold it against you, but to me at least, I like my stories, I like my games with actual meaning, descriptions. I like it with actual meaning, characters and everything. I like to learn about the characters. I like to learn about the story. I like to do, everything. It doesn't matter if like I got to watch a video to like understand like, oh, this is why this character chose this and X, Y, and Z. I don't care about that. I'm fine with that. But there really wasn't anything memorable about Souls 2. There isn't. And I hate that. I hate it because it sucks. It sucks. It's sad. But at the same time, what could I do? It's depressing because I really want to like this game. Okay? I really want to like this game. I really want to say straight up, like, this game will forever be in my heart and everything, because this is the first Souls game that I played. And look, I already almost dropped my PS5, Jesus Christ. But, like, I really wanted to say all that. I really wanted to keep my promise and everything about how I really loved Dark Souls 2. I really enjoyed it. I really wanted to keep that promise, but in all honesty, I can't. I can't. My final critique before I leave. I'm just going to say this quickly. This game was definitely one of the weakest in terms of Dark Souls. Am I disappointed? 100%. Do I have high hopes for it? Unfortunately, no. I don't really think that there is any way or any like possibility of somebody arguing with me or like making an argument about like, Dark Souls 2 is good. You just, you haven't played it right or any of this and that. I'm sorry if anybody feels offended. I'm sorry, Dragon, if I offend you. Like, maybe you do enjoy the game. Maybe I'm just disrespecting the game a whole bunch. I don't know. But me personally, I didn't like it. My final opinion, my final rate. Shut the fuck up. My final opinion, my final rating for this game, unfortunately, has to be a 4 out of 10. If I really want to be nice, a 4.5. As they say, not to be a fucking scientist and nerd, but something outweighs many. I don't fucking know. I don't know what's the saying. I'm not gonna search it up or anything. I don't got time for that, but yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to feel, except I'm glad that we're finally over this. I'm glad that I can move on, live my life now. I'm glad that I could do a different game. Anyways, that's going to be the end. That's all I have to say. And I'm sorry that I have to cut this short. But, yeah.